Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy M.K.S. I'm drinking Vimto instead of tea for once. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. I thought for a bit of fun, I'll talk about some of my footballing ideas or dreams again, as I often do. Obviously, this one about Roma, but as a fan of Italian football generally, I love to cover these videos about Italian football and Celtic, as a fan of Celtic as well, of course. But yeah, I'd love to hear from football fans or people generally. If, as ever, please send your constructive criticism or general feedback, especially positive and uplifting comments would be welcome. And especially Roma fans, I'd love to hear what you think, or even rival football fans or whatnot, but especially football fans generally. I think that covers everything for the intro. But yeah, I was thinking the point of this video is, as Roma are nicknamed the Giallorrosi, if I pronounce that right, please forgive me, any Italians, especially fans of Roma, or people who are like Puritans for pronunciation or whatever, or people who are passionate about the Italian language. I only really support Italy for football, and I only speak English, and even that I don't speak very well. So please forgive me if I butcher any pronunciations, but I think it's called the Giallorosi, which, if I'm not mistaken, means gold and red. I think that's the colours they play in. It's gold and red, although it only looks red. But anyway, yeah. So I'd love to hear from Roma fans, if any facts or anything like that. If I get anything infactual or incorrect, like if it's the pronunciation, for instance, or what it really means. I'm sure Gyalorrosi means gold and red. But again, please correct me in the comment section below if I make any mistakes, as I say. So yeah, hopefully it won't be too cringeworthy, but here are some of my dreams or ideas. I thought, because of my alliteration, I'd love for the Giallorosi to become the new or the next Galacticos, whichever way you want to put it. Let's say the next Galacticos or the new Galacticos. Anyway, so yeah, so here goes. So number one, as part of this, I would love for Roma to get as much investment as possible. I know I covered a video a while back where I talked about how I'd love for, I covered quite a few different Italian teams and how I'd love for them to get investments, but I'd love for them to get as much investments as possible. Like the current owner of Roma, I believe, is I forgot his name, but he is like big in Hollywood. Dan Friedkin, I think it is. Again, please forgive me if my pronunciation, even English words, I'm not very good with pronunciation, but yeah, pronunciation, whatever. But Dan Friedkin, if I got that right, is the current owner of Roma. But I'd love for loads of shareholders to get involved. Like, apparently he knows Hollywood celebrities like DiCaprio and people like that. I'd love for him to get them into football or soccer, as they would probably call it, of course, what they would call it, and like to get them invested in Roma and like finding out about the club and stuff. I've heard of a few football owners who own football clubs, so I think it'd be great if they did too. Like if you got enough celebrities and even other film directors or producers or other people involved in films in Hollywood, and even maybe worked with other directors from like India, like Bollywood, Nollywood from Nigeria, and just as with my idea with Torino, I would love for those three countries and possibly others as well to have like football academies in their home countries, like in America, India, and Nigeria, respectively, in this case, which could have like academies and say in sports clubs for Roma, and also like Italians, or in this case, people from Roma or from Rome, could find out about, Roma fans at least, could find out about their cultures, like about America and India and Nigeria and places like that, and in return those people could find out about Italian culture, or at least especially in football. And as I love for as many investors as possible to invest in Roma, so they can obviously have the money and the funds, the money/funds, whichever way you want to put it, to invest in buying even better players and investing in the youth as well, which I think is important. But again, like they could have academies in America and Nigeria and India respectively, so they travel to each other's countries and they travel to Rome and vice versa. So obviously there'd be Roma academies, so they'd have a connection, hopefully improve relations, as I wish for Italian teams to do generally with the rest of the world as much as possible. Number two, I hope they can learn from Real Madrid, which is the Galacticos, of course. For those who don't know, Real Madrid were called the Galacticos. I don't know if I think they're still called the Galacticos, and they play some beautiful football and all that kind of thing. So I think it'd be great if they learn as much as possible from Real Madrid, how they built that team, and see if they can get shareholders. And apparently Real Madrid are owned by the Spanish government and so-called royalty. So I think it'd be great. Obviously, Italy doesn't have a royalty, but it would be great, I think, if wealthy Italians and even the government invested to help. If that's, I'm not sure what the rules are, but because it could be, some people say Real Madrid are actually owned by the fans rather than the government. But I think it'd be great if banks and businesses, sovereign wealth funds, and all sorts invested into Roma, so they could become the new Galacticos. Number three, again, I think it'd be great to see as much the Italian government offering tax exemptions I often talk about, and other such financial incentives like as a capital, like and access to the markets, more access to the markets more easily if they invest in Roma, if they have shares in Roma and all that kind of thing. Number four, I hope that Roma will also. My title was a bit long in the. My title for the video was a bit long, but I would love for Roma to also to become the new Galacticos or the next Galacticos, whichever way you want to put it, as I say. But also with a good defence and a good goalkeeper, because in the past, Real Madrid were known to have a poor goalkeeper and a poor defence. Or I think they had a good goalkeeper, Casillas, Casillas, but they had a poor defence, or they weren't very defensive minded. So I think it'd be good if Roma were strong in all areas, including the goalkeeper, defenders, and the midfielders had the best possible players. I think it'd be really cool and interesting to see if Roma had like the best goalkeeper and the best sub goalkeepers. I was wondering if it would be good if Roma had a goalkeeper like Courtois, if they could buy him from Real Madrid, but also Italian goalkeeper Donnarumma, or as people call him Donnarumma. But it would be a bit of a dilemma for me as a fan of Italian football generally. As like, I'd hope they'd find a way to put, if they did that, to find a way to put Donnarumma into, like, give him more match time and not just let the overseas goalkeeper get all the match time. But yeah, and I think it'd be interesting to see what if Roma could get like the best 2 or 3 players in each position, so they have a really good squad as well. So if players get injured or tiring, they could like bring on a great sub, bring on great subs as well. Like have the best right backs, left backs, centre backs, wingers, centre mids, and strikers possible. Possibly in a few years, bringing players like Mbappe and Haaland and players like that to the club. Number 5, on that note, I would love to hear from Roma fans, like who would you like to see at the club and who do you think are the best goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders and strikers, and if Roma could have like 2 or 3 players for each possible position, obviously that'd be between 22 to 33, I think it is, players on the pitch, sorry, not on the pitch obviously, but in the squad, who would you like to see those players be? So please post those in the comments below. Number 6, again, I'd love to see Roma win as many trophies as possible, and Roma won the Conference League last season, so, and I'd love to see them win either that or even the Europa League this season somehow. And I think they're not doing hugely well at the moment, but hopefully they'll recover just as they did last season and go on to win that. Number 7, again, I'd love to see how hear people's ideas or read people's ideas about what are the best ways to attract investment into the club. Number 8, as someone from a neurodiverse background with dyslexia and dyspraxia, as I mentioned before, normally people with dyspraxia are not really into sports like football, but I'm probably only got minor dyspraxia, or it affects me in certain ways. Obviously, it affects people differently. Sometimes I do think I do have more severe dyspraxia, but yeah. But as a dyslexic person and a creative, quirky dyslexic, I would love to see to show what dyslexic people can do, and this video is part of that. With imagination, although some people might say it's a pipe dream, but I think it'd be interesting if it happened in the next few years. Number 9, I'd like for it to happen as soon as possible, like within the next five years, preferably, or even in the next 2 or 3 years, perhaps. But let's say at least in the next 5 to 10 years, but as soon as possible. And number 10, I also hope, as I say, they will invest in youth as well. As I say, as well as buying overseas players, I think it's important that they invest in academies and younger players, younger Italian players as well. But also, as I say, they could help players from Nigeria and India, even, and America and places like that. If they have investors from those countries who invest in the club, but also have academies in their home country, they could play some of those. But I also hope they will, as I say, develop young Italian players. So I'd love to hear what you think, as I say, especially, or read what you think, as I say, especially fans of Italian football in particular, and in particular Roma, but even football fans generally, or anyone who wants to comment. And I am out. Peace and love.